some good coffee. 6 months ago, Apple released this, the Apple Watch Ultra. So 6 months on, has this bad boy lived up to the hype? Let's find out. 6 months ago, I had a Garmin Fenix 6 Sapphire on my wrist. I'd used that for triathlon training for my July 2022 triathlon at Dorney Lakes, and it served me really, really well. It was a great watch, had no issues with it. But Apple announced this in September. I'd always liked Apple Watches. I had an Apple Watch Series 4, an Apple Watch Series 6, but before WatchOS 9, Apple Watch didn't even have a triathlon mode. Couldn't do custom running workouts. It was a bit lacking when it came to a sports watch, which obviously Garmin had everything. So when Apple announced WatchOS 9 and announced the Apple Watch Ultra, I thought, let's give it a go, as you do with an £850 watch. So don't tell my wife it cost that much. Shh. So yes, I ordered it. I got it on launch day. I managed to order it in the morning on the 23rd of September, I think it was, and I collected it that night in Bluewater. So thank you, Bluewater store, for having that there for me. So WatchOS 9 and the Apple Watch Ultra were quite a big change for the Apple Watch lineup. So has it lived up to the hype? Has it been good enough to replace the Garmin Fenix 6? Stick around to the end to find out. So, small disclaimer here before we continue. I bought the Apple Watch Ultra and everything you see in this video myself. No one's paying me to do this video, no one's asked me to do this video. All of these thoughts are my own. You'll find some links in the description to the Apple Watch Ultra and some of the other things that I'm using in this video. If you click on those links and purchase anything from there, this channel may receive a commission, so thank you very much for doing that and helping support the channel. And if you're liking the content, please don't forget to hit subscribe, please like, please comment. My last video, like 3,000 of you have watched that video. I've only got 35 subscribers, so please don't forget, if you like the video, please subscribe. There'll be more content dropping like this every single week. So, on to the main question. Why did I switch to the Apple Watch Ultra from the Garmin Fenix? Garmin's a phenomenal sports watch, right? Probably the best sports watch there is. But when it comes to being a smartwatch, it's sorely lacking, right? The Garmin App Store, the Garmin Connect Store, doesn't really have any apps at all. Not anything in the same vein as an Apple Watch. So as a smartwatch, it's definitely sorely lacking, even though it's very, very good as a sports watch. One of the biggest issues for me with the Garmin was, though, that I was an Apple Music user, and I couldn't download Apple Music onto the watch to stream and listen to while I was out on the run, or on the cycle, or, well, couldn't listen to it swimming anyway. That's probably more of a problem with Apple rather than a problem with Garmin, because Apple's probably blocked anyone from putting Apple Music on their smartwatches because they want you to buy an Apple Watch. Makes sense. There were also other things missing pre-WatchOS 9 from the Apple Watch, things like running power, proper cadence measurements, and all the other kind of advanced running metrics were missing. I mean, I've personally not found a huge amount of use for them, but they were nice to look at when I looked at them in Garmin Connect. And probably the other big thing, well, the biggest thing, was the Garmin, even while training about 5 times a week, the battery lasts a whole week. That's quite phenomenal. The Apple Watch has never been anywhere near that, and still isn't. But the Apple Watch was always a day, and you had to be very careful about when you charged your watch, and if you were going out for a run, you needed to really make sure that it was charged before you left. But a lot of that changed with WatchOS 9 and the Apple Watch Ultra. All the running metrics came along, the advanced running metrics, ground contact time, vertical oscillation, all of those numbers, which, like I said, I don't use that much, but they were nice to see. But the main thing was the ability to custom workouts on the watch, so I could do interval training or interval repeats, whatever I wanted to do and program them into the watch. That was definitely not available WatchOS 8 and earlier, but it's definitely available WatchOS 9. More coffee. 3 good things about the Apple Watch Ultra. Number 1, battery life. With the Series 4 and Series 6 watches, I had to be very deliberate about when I charged my watch. So whether it was every evening or every morning, the watch needed to go on the charger to be charged for a good 45 minutes or so, because the majority of the battery had been depleted from the previous 24 hours. The Apple Watch Ultra comes with a fast charger, which couldn't be done on the Series 4 and Series 6. Number 2, though, the batteries obviously doubled in size. So now I don't need to be so deliberate about when I charge the watch. When I go for a shower every morning, those 10-15 minutes, I drop the watch on the charger, I come back, there's more than enough juice left for the rest of the day, the rest of the night, and probably the next day as well. So that daily charging ritual of about 10 to 15 minutes basically removes the need for me to do a longer charge on the watch. The watch has never run out of battery for me, and I've never really seen it go below 50%. It's always hovering around 85-90% when I take it off the charger after a shower in the morning. So that's been brilliant. Now, I have to preface that with, I don't run ultra marathons. The longest activities I have are about 3 to 4 hours, and I've only done one of those with the Apple Watch, and that probably depleted about 50% of the battery. Now, the most recent run I did was 14 kilometers, was about an hour and a half. That depleted 16% of the battery, and that was with GPS on, obviously a cellular connection, streaming Apple Music to my AirPods Pro, and the screen was at, I think, 2/3 brightness, I think is where I keep it normally. Obviously, it's not the week-long battery life of the Fenix 6, but it's miles and away better than the previous Apple Watches, and definitely removes the need to worry about charging too much for me, which is great. Just drop it on 15 minutes every day, and that was more than enough. Number 2 is design and durability. This is obviously entirely subjective and my own thoughts, but I really love the way the watch looks. It's probably one of the best looking smartwatches for me. The normal Apple Watch looks great with its, flowing glass into the metal curved edges. Definitely looks beautiful. But the Apple Watch Ultra still has that same aesthetic, but achieves it in slightly different ways, and it's much beefier. And I love the fact that there's a flat screen now rather than a curved screen, which is protected all the way around the edge with a bezel. Now, that bezel and the rest of the watch is fully made out of titanium, which, even though this is a much bigger watch, it's a 49mm watch. The Apple Watch Series 8 is a 45mm, I think, at the largest. This is a much bigger watch. It's not heavier though, because it's fully made out of titanium. I'd previously had a stainless steel Apple Watch Series 6. I'm not really worried too much about the weight, but this is definitely lighter, and it's much, much bigger. Even though it's bigger, it doesn't look huge on the wrist. The buttons are also bigger, and the digital crown is also larger. They're much easier to hit because this is now designed to be used with gloves, and the screen is also more sensitive, so that it can be used with gloves better than the previous versions of the Apple Watch as well. At the moment in the UK, it's March and it snowed today, so we're definitely still running around with gloves at the moment. And then to the next point. This watch is an absolute strap monster. So there are certain watches which, there's Rolex Submariner is one of them, probably the Tudor Black Bay 58 is another one of them, where virtually every strap you throw onto the watch, they just look brilliant. The Apple Watch Ultra is another one of those where I've got quite a few straps and all of them look great on this watch. So that's equally, hoodie, and a fabric or silicone band, or leather with a suit. Even when wearing a button-up shirt, a leather band looks great with the Apple Watch Ultra, and it definitely does not look out of place. So there are plenty of other good things, but a lot of them relate to watchOS 9 and not specifically to the Apple Watch Ultra. So, things like the custom running workouts, the improved home app for controlling lights, security system, cameras, all that kind of good stuff. But as I said, those are all watchOS 9 related. 3 things that I think are not so good or still missing from the Apple Watch Ultra. Number 1 is rest, recovery, and training effect. So the Apple Watch is collecting obviously a lot of information, day and night, sleep, daytime, heart rate, stress levels, HRV, all those kind of good metrics. It doesn't feel like the Apple Watch is doing very much with them. So my Garmin watch would tell me how hard I'd worked out, would tell me how long I probably needed to rest for after a workout to recover fully. What the effect of the training was on my body as well. Was it improving my fitness? Not usually. Was I overtraining? Usually. Was I overreaching? Usually. And was I maintaining or, improving my fitness? That's sorely lacking out of the box on the Apple Watch. Yes, you can download third-party apps which will help do that, but I think Apple needs to be doing more in this space. It's definitely one thing that's heavily missing as a sports watch on the Apple Watch Ultra. Another thing, point number 2, which I think is not so great, it's probably kind of a bit of a strange one, is actually that the screen sensitivity, and alongside that all the accidental taps and accidental timers or other things that I keep setting on the watch. The screen is very sensitive, but there needs to be some better kind of rejection technology built in, which knows the difference between a tap and just my arm brushing against the that's not my arm, that's my hand brushing against the watch. And the third thing, which I think is not so great, which is definitely one thing that's lacking quite significantly, is there's no running mapping. There's no mapping for runs or cycles. So on my Garmin watch, I could go onto Garmin Connect, go onto the website or the phone, create a course, which is basically a route, offload that to the watch, and then basically follow it almost like turn-by-turn navigation from the watch. You can't do any of that out of the box with the Apple Watch Ultra. You know, the Apple Watch does have maps, so I guess you could set a route on maps and then also start a running workout. The problem is that doesn't really work very well, and you can't create loops in the Apple Maps app. So if you wanted to start running from one place, go around 10k and come back and finish in the same place, it's not going to be possible to do very easily. So workout mapping is definitely something that I would hope Apple will add. You can use third-party apps like Work Outdoors, but as I said, built into the watch, not available. Obviously, it's great, the Apple Watch does have apps, so you can add that functionality, but I think Apple need to be doing more in that space as well. And a bonus fourth one, which I think is the lack of ability to create the workouts on the phone rather than having to do it via the quite fiddly interface on the watch. It'd be much better if I could set up my interval training on my watch, set up the interval training on my phone and sync it back to the watch. That way it's much quicker and easier to do, and I'm not having to fiddle around, as you'll probably see in some of the B-roll, with creating the workout and scrolling through to get the right distance. It's quite time consuming, and it's very easily fixed by having that facility within the app on the phone. So, in conclusion, do I regret replacing my Garmin Fenix 6 with the Apple Watch Ultra? 100% not. It was a bit of a leap of faith having been with a Garmin Fenix and then jumping into the Apple Watch Ultra, having already had Apple Watches Series 4 and Series 6 and knowing that they had been sorely lacking from a workout perspective. And yes, there are definitely things that the Garmin still does a bit better, training effect, workout mapping, that kind of stuff. But from a smartwatch perspective, the Apple Watch Ultra is light years ahead of the Garmin. From here, I can control my lights, I can control my Sonos, my alarm system, I can talk to Siri. Don't talk to Siri very often on the watch because it's not great, but all of that functionality is there, which the Garmin just does not have. I'm not a professional athlete. I'm not, I don't need all of the advanced metrics that Garmin provides. I like seeing some of it, and it's interesting to me, but I think the Apple Watch provides that nice kind of sweet spot between, being a heavily sports metrics, KPI type watch versus a smartwatch giving you all the nicer things like better music, playback, and all, the smart home functionality, reminders, all of those kind of good things which are largely missing on the Garmin. The bigger issue for me though is I love mechanical watches as well. Now, wearing an Apple Watch feels like it needs to be a full-time event, so what you end up seeing is me being that weirdo who's got two watches on. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I'm very happy with my Apple Watch Ultra and I'll be continuing to wear it. If you haven't already, please like, please comment, and please definitely subscribe for more content like this. Thank you very much.